tonight shedding light on a crime that may go unnoticed. Our Adriana Gonzalez-Chavez spoke with several community leaders right here in the basin to further investigate the impact of human trafficking and why it keeps happening in our area.
The Texas Department of Public Safety recently made over 20 arrests and rescued 4 victims in human trafficking operations last January. Several organizations in the basin are working to save even more victims and put an end to human trafficking in the basin.
If we think that human trafficking doesn't exist in our city or town, I think we're being dishonest to ourselves.
Unfortunately, the Permian Basin is in the top 5 regions for trafficking in the United States.
Felt angry about it, that it's happening, that these women and children are being taken advantage of.
And I wanted to understand how this can be so profitable under all of our noses. And in looking at that, I realized it's an economy like any other, supply and demand. Well, who is fueling the demand and what factors are causing that? And so we look at things across our culture, things in our culture that we've all just kind of accepted.
Familial trafficking is when it's somebody in the family that is trafficking that child. And I think that happens because they have immediate access to that child and already are in authority over them and can tell them what to do and make them think that it's the best for both them and the caregiver themselves. Like if, hey, we're short on bills this month, I need you to do this, or that to help us pay rent. Don't you want to live here?
Several organizations in the Permian Basin work to address human trafficking in the area, starting with addressing buyers, helping victims rebuild their lives, and housing young girls who have been rescued.
Complex trauma is a lot. When you understand that on a low number, trafficking victims are really raped and sold at an average of 6,000 times before they're able to be out of the life. That's a lot of mental, physical, psychological, emotional trauma that you're trying to overcome. And it doesn't happen in 6 months, and it doesn't happen in a year.
Lisa Bounds is the founder of Reflection Ministries, an organization in the Permian Basin that helps human trafficking victims regain control of their lives. And on a personal level, she understands the trauma victims experience.
I was just a regular girl going to school and with high hopes and dreams. And he drugged me. I was then after that, gang raped, and he began introducing me to porn and really just controlling the entire situation. There were beatings and torture and starvation. And it wasn't long before he was selling me in the back alleys, in hotels in Dallas and Fort Worth and Arlington. I've been sold in Vegas, been sold in Amarillo, and across Texas.
Human trafficking and sexual exploitation can happen to people from all ages and backgrounds.
In the hospital, when I had a patient that was a newborn and was sexually abused, and then it just piled on from there. You know, you want to help, but you really can't because, the CPS has to handle all that.
While anyone can be susceptible to human trafficking, some groups may be more vulnerable, such as children in foster care.
Children in foster care, they don't necessarily have an adult consistently in their lives for support. So they might be vulnerable into seeking that elsewhere. And some people don't have the best intentions when it comes to children. So they might use that vulnerability to kind of make them do things that they might want them to do, such as making them profit, like human trafficking.
Amanda Allen with Harmony Home, Children's Advocacy Center in Odessa, warns parents about their child's vulnerabilities that can make them susceptible to predators.
They don't have to be taken away from their families and kept in a separate location to be trafficked. Children can be trafficked right off their cell phones in the comfort of their own home.
That is why police ask anyone and everyone to keep an eye out for human trafficking.
I think we're a hub for things. We're on the interstate. We're a direct shot from the southern border. So I think all those things combine together to make this place an ideal target for that sort of thing.
Joe Madison is the founder of Demand Disruption, an organization that is stopping human trafficking at the root and addressing the people who pay for it by talking to them directly.
When we talk to buyers, and if I had a room full of buyers in front of me right now, I would say, how did you get here today? How did you get to that point? That open-ended question at the point of arrest with men in handcuffs, it's not some deep psychological question. It is an open-ended question, and I hear all stories. I've heard, I was raised this way, I saw my uncle do it, He told me this is what a real man does. I've had guys say, well, I would never do this to my wife, and now this woman, I can pay for it. I mean, you see it in movies, what's the big deal? There are these layers that we can deconstruct, and when we do that, we deconstruct the behavior.
Madison and his team also work to change the perception buyers have about human trafficking victims.
Somebody is in some sort of perception that women want to be doing these things for a living. That couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, they say it's a choice. It's not a choice. It is a reduction of so many other terrible choices that oftentimes has roots in their own sexual abuse or some sort of horrible childhood or background.
Bounds says she hopes to continue seeing more accountability across the nation for buyers and not turning the other way.
We do have lack of accountability when you look at almost 70% of buyers are white educated men who have a disposable income of over $120,000, who are married with children. I wish that were different. I wish it was exactly what you thought. It's the sleazy guy in the sleazy motel across the tracks, and it rarely happened. I wish that were the case. But unfortunately, it's not. Because we talk about people that have the ability, that have little accountability, and other people look the other way.
Ultimately, Bounds says that to stop human trafficking, people need to start asking more questions.
Are we holding people accountable that we do business with when they come in for 2 to 3 weeks at a time with no accountability, no family here? They're hanging out in different places at the bars and hanging out with different people. Are we questioning it? Are we questioning what our workers are doing after hours? Are we creating an environment that is approving of an action?
To read more about what signs to look out for so you can help put an end to human trafficking, visit yourbasin.com.
Adriana, thank you. If someone is convicted of trafficking another person for forced labor or services, the punishment is typically a second-degree felony. This can lead up to 2 to 20 years behind bars.